Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to Man Cave Meals. Today we're going to put together a short video on how to make ghee. Ghee or clarified butter, they're not exactly the same thing, but this is my favorite material for sauteing and pan searing. So I'm going to show you how to make it. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to get this party started. I'm going to turn my burner on about medium heat here with this saucepan, and we're going to put in a pound, which is right at 450 grams of unsalted butter. And we're going to melt this butter, and just for safety's sake, well, not for safety, but for informational value, I'm going to start a timer here so you can see how long this process takes. This takes a little while to make this, so we're going to melt this butter and then we'll be right back. Okay, after about 8 minutes or so here on medium heat, I've got most of my butter melted, so I'm going to leave the heat at medium and we're going to let this come up to a slow simmer. Okay, after about 2 more minutes, this is starting to bubble. It's starting to come to a very slow simmer, and the white foam is starting to appear on top, which is exactly what's supposed to happen. So we're going to watch this, and we're going to adjust the heat down. We don't want to boil it hard. We just want it to simmer. Okay, we've been going about another 3.5 minutes or so here, and as you can see, this butter is bubbling, and I've backed the heat down to low at this point. What's happening here is the water that's in this butter, it has about 15% water, and that water is separating and it's collecting on the bottom, and it bubbles as it gets hot enough to boil. So what we're in essence doing here is removing the water from this as well. So we're going to let this continue at low temperature. As we let this continue to slowly simmer, the white foam that's appearing on top are milk proteins. And you can't really see it yet, but on the bottom, some of this stuff is solidifying and falling to the bottom. So what we are doing is we are taking out the water, and we're taking out the milk solids and the proteins, and leaving behind nothing but the butter fat. And what that gives us the ability to do is 2 things. We're removing the things that can spoil. This increases the shelf life tremendously on this. And we're also taking out the things that burn and scorch when you use this for pan searing. So we're in essence elevating the smoke point of this butter fat up to about 450 degrees. So we're just going to let this go. This needs to go for a good while. Okay, we're about 30 minutes in here, and what I'm going to do at this point is just take a spoon and I'm going to scrape off some of this foam that has formed on top, and we're probably going to do this again. I'm not worried about getting all of that off at this point, and we're just going to let that continue to simmer. We've been going for about 45 minutes here, 46 minutes actually, and you can see how this is starting to have a really clear appearance. And there's still a little bit of scum on top, but that's okay. We don't have to worry about that. And you can see, I can see in the pan here, it might not show in the video, that there are some solids collecting on the bottom of the pan. I'm going to let this continue here for another 15 minutes probably, because I want this to actually kind of let some of those milk solids brown up a little bit. I don't want to burn them, so I'm actually going to stir the pot occasionally, but we're going to let that brown up. You can also tell when a majority of your water content is gone from this, because you'll stop seeing any steam rising from here. Currently, I see no steam rising, so that's telling me that most, if not all, of our water content from this is gone. So we're going to go here for another 13 minutes or so, and then we'll come back. All right, we're at about the 55-minute mark here, and as you can see, this has stopped bubbling. So we're at that point where all the moisture, all the water is gone out of this, and as you can see, I've got some browned bits of solids on the bottom of this pan. Still got a little foam on the top. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to turn the heat off, and we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes before we move on to the next step. Let it cool for just a moment. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do to make this process a little easier is I'm going to transfer this to a large measuring cup that has a pouring spout on it. And then we're going to go from here. Okay, I've got a couple mason jars lined up here, and what we're going to do is I'm going to take several thicknesses of cheesecloth, and stretch it across the top of this, and we are going to pour this clarified butter into the jar through the cheesecloth to strain out any of those milk solids that are left behind. And as we finish, we're going to try to leave behind any milk solids that are in the measuring cup here. And as you can see, some of that browned milk solid is still there. So now we'll just discard the cheesecloth, and what we have there is a perfect pint or so of ghee. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this out on the counter. We're going to let this cool. This will solidify, and you can leave this out on the counter. It doesn't have to go in the refrigerator, because everything that we've put in there, or everything that we've taken out of there, is going to keep this from spoiling. I keep mine in the refrigerator, but I let it re-solidify at room temperature before it goes in there, and it takes quite a while for that to happen. So there you have it, a quick and easy way to make your own ghee. So give this a try.